You know, nothing strikes my imagination more than a Northwest trade gun. And if you've watched this channel before, you've seen several Northwest trade guns, one particular Northwest trade gun, and over on our other channel, 11 Bang Bang, we have done many videos with the Northwest trade gun. But this one's a little bit different than the one you've seen before. The one you've seen before was a 47-inch full length, very early production. It was a replica, it was an India-made musket replica of a very early production Northwest trade gun, back when they were being produced as very long, basically fowling pieces. Today we have something a little different and way more special. This is quite the little Northwest trade gun. Some things about it are perfect, some things about it are not perfect at all. This is going to be the first gun, or flintlock, of little Cyrus, the kid you've seen running around on the channel quite a little bit thus far. And the reason is, this gun is not historically accurate in one manner. It has no octagon on the barrel. This is just a straight round barrel. And now, generally, almost all Northwest trade guns will have an octagon, two wedding bands, they call it, turning to round. And if you go back and watch our other videos, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. There will usually be a setting fox stamped on that octagon and whatnot. This gun was actually made from a Track of the Wolf kit, except for the barrel. The barrel is basically a chopped down fusee barrel that has a breech plug and tang put in the back of it, and the reason it's done like that is for weight reduction. This little gun weighs just slightly over 3 pounds. It's very light. And before you say, won't that kick like a mule? Not if you don't want it to. Remember, it's a muzzle loader. It can be loaded to any power or recoil that you want it to be loaded to. And there's a few issues with this one in particular. The lock here, it's a good lock, but the mainspring in the lock is just way too weak. And what that means is it does give good spark and it does go off, but it gives it a little bit slow ignition. So really need to work on that mainspring. But for the moment, like I said, a kid's gun. And as a kid's gun, having a little bit lighter mainspring isn't such a bad deal. If he can learn to shoot through the slow lock time on this, he can shoot through the lock time on anything, right? And so as you can see, this gun right here can have a bit of a slow lock time, but we still get good spark. So a little bit of history on this Northwest trade gun. This gun, obviously, not this one in particular, but the Northwest trade gun has been around in different variations all the way from back in the early 1700s. And I do believe that it settled into this particular pattern around 1750. Before that, there were others, but the Northwest gun with the big bow trigger guard and a lot of other things like that, the serpent side plate, you know, the sitting fox, the octagon to round barrel, which we don't have here, all settled in around 1750. There was a huge import of these things into Canada for the Hudson Bay Fur Company, and then later on the Northwest Company. The Americans made a bunch of these, Lehman did. They were very prolific. This is the most popular civilian weapon really that you're going to find all over. They made 2.5 million of these things, so you're going to see them everywhere. You're going to see them from 1750 on up to 1800 through the American Revolution in native hands, but also in the hands of other people because they're just cheap. They're well built, they're well constructed, they're not junk, but they are cheap using guns. You're going to see them from 1800 up to 1860, still in that role of with a flintlock on them and everything, still in that role, filling for settlers, pioneers, natives, fur trappers. Obviously, America is a rifleman's country, and a lot of us use rifles, and a lot of people used rifles then too. But the beauty of the Northwest trade gun being a smoothbore is you can load a big 60 caliber round ball in this thing. This one is in 62 caliber barrel. A lot of them were originally in 58. This one in particular is in 62. You can load a 60 caliber round ball. You don't have to patch it, anything. Just put it right down on the powder, a wad over the top of it, and go to town. Or you can load it with shot and go turkey hunting or quail hunting. And as I've always said, you can always hunt quail in the morning and moose in the afternoon with the exact same gun. Now, they got lighter and shorter as the years went by, and I think this would be a representation of an 1850s gun. This one is in 30 inches. This is a short little piece. And I like to call these buffalo runner guns, and I know several other guys that call them that because when the natives wanted them this short and this light, it's very easy to be riding your horse, running down the buffalo, one shot, one hand. It's nothing like one of those long 42, 47 inch guns. It's very light, very handy. The Northwest trade gun, like I said, very, very popular. They put percussion locks on them at the Hudson Bay Company in the 1880s. Before that, they were still selling like hotcakes with flintlocks. And one of the reasons is the Northwest Company was selling to a lot of natives that were way up north, way away from anybody else, and getting percussion caps, even in the 1850s, 60s, and 70s up there, was a little bit of a difficult deal. And if you're a native who's trapping in the farthest most regions of maybe northern Canada up to Alaska, anywhere like that, you're going to find out that should you cross a river and drop your caps in the river, they're done, and so's your gun. Whereas you can always dry gunpowder out if it gets wet, and you can always find a flint in that area to nap down, so you're never without firepower. Whereas if you were using a cap lock, you could be without firepower. Now, they did start putting cap locks on them around 1880, as far as I can tell, and they sold these things all the way up into the 19 teens, with I believe 1912 being one of the last documented Northwest trade gun transactions for the Hudson Bay Company. So to put that in perspective, this gun was in production before the United States was its own nation, in some variations all the way back to 1700, but let's just give it the 1750s date. This thing was in production from then past the production of the 1911 when it was first brought out. So think about it, this gun, this style gun can cover so much history, and that's why nothing fires the imagination, for me anyway, like a Northwest trade gun. So we have stepped the charge up here to 120 grains of powder and a 60 caliber Bear round ball topped with some grass. We're gonna see what kind of recoil this light gun gives old Noah with that kind of charge. How was the recoil on that heavy charge with that little 3-pound gun?
Wasn't too bad.
Okay, we're gonna try something a little bit different here. We have 80 grains of powder and one 60 caliber round ball already down there. Now Noah's gonna load 3, make it 4 50 caliber round balls. That is a heavy charge right there.
Yeah.
And we're gonna follow all that up and wad it with some grass. Now that's quite a bit of stick sticking out the top of that gun now. Are you prepared for this?
I guess.
That kicked you around a little bit.
A little bit.
Some people don't realize it's not necessarily the powder charge that creates the recoil.
Yeah.
A lot of time it's the weight of the projectile. I've already actually dumped 40 grains of powder in here, alright? And we're going to do things a little bit different because this gun can be used for shot too. So we got 40 grains of powder down, and I'm going to put a little bit of a fiber wad down there, about half. I'm not going real crazy. You can load, obviously, shot many different ways, the sky cheap load and everything, but we're trying to keep it very simple. You don't want to carry a gazillion components when you're trying to make a gun fire and a gun work in the woods for more than one shot. If you're turkey hunting or something, that's perfectly fine. Now I have this little shot dispenser that's made out of a piece of 4570 brass inserted into a piece of 5070 brass in the antler here. It holds about 6 ounces of shot. It's good for squirrel hunting or what, where you're not going to take more than 6 shots generally. Alright, that makes 1 ounce of shot. This 4570 is measured to hold. So we have 40 grains, 1 ounce of shot. We have a cushion wad underneath and a small piece of cushion wad on the top. So it's only a couple components. It's not very difficult. And the reason I only went with 40 grains is we haven't patterned this gun. But a general rule of thumb, and it's not for everything, obviously. If you go watch some of Mike Bellevue's videos, he's got videos where he does actually way better using a heavy charge of powder. But for me, I have found that in a lot of guns, when you're first starting, a little powder and a lot of lead shoots far and kills dead. That's a very old saying, and it rings true a lot of times. So an ounce with 40 grains of powder and an ounce of birdshot is actually pretty good on squirrels, and you've seen us take squirrels with that combination quite a bit on this channel. It works out pretty well. All right, and we are going to see what kind of spread this gun gives us at about, I would say that's about 20 yards. It would appear that it gave us about 1.5 foot wide by 1.5 foot tall pattern down there on the snow, which is perfectly fine for anything you wanted to do inside 20 yards. We're going to give a quick shout out here to Hawk and Horse, by the way. If you guys haven't listened to some good frontier mountain manny type music, check out Hawk and Horse, spelled just like the rifle. One point that needs to be made about the Northwest trade gun is the question, was this large trigger bow down here, was it for people because they like to use 2 strings to draw a bow, the natives? Or was it more of a case of they could get their mittened hands in there? Well, I can't speak to the drawing the bow like a native, but I can speak to the fact that I have some very crude handmade mittens out of wool here. And if I was to shoot with this gun, which I'm left-handed, yes, I can actually get that mitt and those fingers all the way in there and still fire the gun completely fine. So whether or not it is for the bow or if it's for the mittens, the mitten theory does pan out. Thank you all for watching today. That's all we have on this beautiful little Northwest trade gun. It's going to be Cyrus's. Have a happy day, and we'll see y'all on the next one. You like that? Is that pretty? You got tiger stripe? What's yours? Your daddy got that for you. Can you hold it up on your arm? Close enough. You ready to go shoot a squirrel?
Oh yeah, I gotta go tomorrow, but how about I don't know.
You don't know?